Welcome to ITK Funday, your own channel where we make IT interesting for everyone. So in this video, we will understand 5 basic networking commands which should help you do the basic network troubleshooting in case you find some network problems. I know networking can be daunting for people, especially who do not know how networking exactly works. But if you are not a doctor, that does not mean you cannot have your first aid kit with you. So these 5 commands are like your first aid kit, which you should always have in your kitty. As soon as you face any kind of networking issues, these basic commands will help you actually diagnose the problem to an extent. Obviously you might need expertise at certain point, but this will at least give you some clues as to where the problem could lie. And I'm pretty sure that these commands will help you in future. So let's get started.
Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon.
So the most basic command, I think you have already used it a lot, is IP config. I know you already use it, most of you already know, but again, this is for some who does not know a word about networking. So IP config gives you the biodata of your network. It will give you all the details which are required to exactly understand what is your IP address, what is your DNS, what is your gateway, all those kind of information. And there is a special switch. If you use IP config with a /all switch, then it will give you much more information than a standard IP config command. It will also give you the host name of your particular machine, and this will definitely help you understand that okay, what exactly the network configurations are there on your machine. So whenever you are finding any kind of networking issues, you should first try to understand the IP address, the subnet mask, the default gateway, all these kind of information. So suppose if a network administrator comes to you, you should have all these information ready, which will help you save time. The second command is NSLOOKUP. NSLOOKUP is the command which exactly, if you follow it, it will give you that okay, which particular domain name server will be supplying you the IP addresses of any particular any particular domain name which you are trying to query. Suppose if you are typing www.google.com, then from where exactly the IP address would be coming for that particular domain name. So this is what will be given by your NSLOOKUP. When you type the NSLOOKUP, it will give you the domain name server IP address where you can identify that okay, this is my name server. And then it will also if you add the domain name which you are looking for. So suppose you have a website www.google, suppose for example .com. Okay. So suppose if you are doing a NSLOOKUP on that, so it will give you the DNS server from which this particular query will be queried, and also the IP address of the underlying server which which you are trying to query. So in this case, the IP address which will be resolving to your Google server. Now where it can be used? Suppose there is a scenario where you are able to reach one of your application using its IP address. Okay. But when you are trying to type the host name of that particular application, it is not reaching, and you are getting some error that not able to recognize the name or something like that. Some error, some random error you are getting while you are typing the host name or the domain name of that particular application. Now there can be a reason of some issue with the DNS. So what you can do is a domain name server can also do a reverse lookup. What is a reverse lookup? That instead of passing the domain name, if you pass the IP, okay, if you pass the IP, then it will tell you that okay, this is the particular domain name it is resolving to. Okay, so it might happen that the IP which you are trying to reach is not exactly assigned to that particular application. So NSLOOKUP is a very good command if you are trying to identify and fix DNS related issues. Okay, so this is NSLOOKUP, a very useful command. Another very basic command is the ping command. Ping is simply a command wherein you try to understand whether a particular host is reachable over the network or not. So suppose if you want to test, suppose your application is not working, okay, and your application is, your application is a 3-tier application where there is a web server, then there is an application server, and then there is a database server. So it's a 3-tier architecture. And whenever you're hitting, you are getting some error. So the basic thing which you can do is you try to ping the first server with which you are making that connection. Okay, try to ping that server. Simply see if it is reachable or not. Suppose you are trying to hit some query on the database server, but you are not able to establish the connection. Try to hit that particular database server with this ping command and understand that whether the response is coming back or not. Okay, so ping is again a very important command, and all these commands have very advanced switches which can further enhance the capabilities of these basic commands. So for that you have to use the documentation. But just remember that ping is also an evergreen command whenever you try to check the reachability of any particular server or service. The next command is traceroute. Traceroute is a very good command if you are trying to diagnose some sort of a performance issue. Because traceroute, as the name suggests, when you do a traceroute onto a particular destination, this particular traceroute command will show you all the hops which that particular packet takes over multiple routers. So suppose you are a source and there is a destination, you are trying to connect to the destination, so there must be different network devices with which the packet is going to that particular destination. So this particular traceroute command exactly tells you whether you are able to go through those hops correctly or not. And suppose when you are doing that traceroute, you are seeing that in one particular hop the request timeout is coming. Request timeout means that at that particular hop, that particular router is not further passing the packet to the next router. Okay, so always look for those signals, and also it also give you the time it took for sending a packet from one destination, from one source to the destination. So that also goes to show that okay, in one particular hop whether it is taking more time than usual. So traceroute, again a very important command when you are trying to identify intermittent performance kind of issues. And the last command is netstat. Now netstat command is used to identify all the active connections you have over the network. Okay, so whenever you try to establish any kind of TCP/IP connections, you connect to a particular port. Suppose for example you try to connect to an Oracle database. Now what is the default port for Oracle database? People who don't know, it is 1521. Okay, so you have to see that okay, whenever you are doing netstat, and mainly there is a switch called like an A switch, netstat -A, wherein if you run that you will get all the list of active connections which are there, which are which your computer is listening to, and the ports of the same. So suppose you are trying to reach a particular server over the network on a specific port, and you are getting error like connection refused or something like that. So in that case it would be worth running a netstat command to identify all the open active TCP/IP connections and identify whether there is this particular port is already consumed by some other kind of connection. So this netstat command is very helpful when you are trying to troubleshoot something to do with your connectivity and your open TCP/IP connections. There are various switches available for all these commands, and based on your understanding and usage you can you can use these 5 commands. So friends, I hope you now know what are these 5 basic commands and how it can form your first aid kit in order to troubleshoot any networking issues. There are a lot of advanced switches which are available to use these use these commands, but for a beginner I think the basic commands would do just enough. And once you know something about these issues, you can either contact a network administrator or else you can fix it yourself. So I hope with these 5 commands you will now have a better chance to look into any possible network issue. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button if you find this content to be of any use to you. Let me know in the comment section what you would want to learn next. We are going ahead with our networking series, but we will be touching into other areas of information technology. So please let me know. and yes, keep supporting and keep showering all the love on this channel. So until then, keep hustling. Bye for now.